perfect time, right on the nose, exactly 6 o'clock. Welcome to the workshop, the CROA workshop. Let me call this to order and make sure it was noticed, which I'm sure it was. Let's see. Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second motion.
Any discussion over that item? Any you guys want to change, move?
Can we move the insurance premium discussion up because we have Doug in the audience? Just so
Move it to A and then move.
whatever everyone wants to do.
Just move everything down one. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, so discussion item A will be insurance. Any other changes? All those in favor? Aye. Now we got a couple of action items. These are just to approve recreation program contracts, and these are recommended by Parks and Rec. Motion on both. A motion, second. Second, discussion.
I'll just say my kids are going to Spark Grounds. It's an awesome partner program. Thank you for everything you're doing. It's gotten great feedback from what I've heard, so they had a great time. I destroyed the Play-Doh with my car. It fell apart, but
I thought also it's been going.
Yeah.
Great. And answer questions if anyone has them.
Anybody have anything? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now these are future items to add to consent agenda for our regular meeting. Let's just start with the sidewalk repairs and replacement in North Village. And that's a reserve fund. Anybody have anything on A? B, the drinking fountain. This is moving drinking fountains all over the place to get us new drinking fountains in bottle fillers.
Yes.
These are the new ones that we talked about.
So the biggest cheat, this is it's adding a new fountain with a bottle filler station to the North Village playground and taking that traditional style one that matches the existing one at Long Meadow and moving that to Long Meadow so that it stays the same style that it was.
Yeah, right.
Smart move. Anybody gonna have any issues with that on the consent agenda?
we don't have to move any pipes or anything. Long Meadow,
There's some plumbing work involved, but not,
that's gonna be, how is that gonna be?
that's included in this.
Okay, that's what
I think that one thing that's not is just the pouring of a small concrete pad for it, which we're gonna do.
Going back to Long Meadow, didn't we had to remove that water fountain?
It's
because
moving to the other side.
Is that gonna be where most of the plumbing is gonna be needed or?
Yeah.
And Louis just corrected me that the concrete pad is included.
Oh,
It's all inclusive. That is all inclusive out of reserves. Anybody have any questions about C, a fire panel replacement for here and there
They're all
and
funded
Lakeside?
this year in the reserves.
That price is good.
It's under the budgeted amount.
Any other questions? No problems with that? D, resurfacing the tennis courts, again, a reserve thing, and I guess there are little divots and holes and things, and it's time to make it smooth.
It's funded for as well.
Well, funded for this
time was done.
So this isn't a full resurfacing. The full resurfacing was done in 2022. This is minor repairs and repainting and recoating.
So unrelated to this, but related,
You can't have it both ways. It has to be unrelated, related, and relatedly unrelated.
how do we, maybe we talked about this during the conversation, but I've seen kids going on their e-bikes on those courts. So
Yeah.
is there something that we can do as part of this or separate, but have a conversation around how we can, because that's what I get worried about too. I think there's a little bit of acceleration there.
I was just there yesterday and I'm looking at all the signs going, these are for tennis only, these are for tennis only, these are for tennis only. And we saw a kid with a skateboard going onto the tennis.
Yeah, I saw a kid doing donuts when I was with my kids months ago, so
We
it
can
doesn't.
look at alternative solutions and in the meantime, talk with Parks and Rec and see if we can do kind of some targeted focus on those areas in the afternoon.
Has anyone else seen that? I mean, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that, but in general, I feel like fencing those in should be a master plan, long-term thing. With
Yeah,
access
that's the
cards and
agenda.
things,
I-
like that's.
I remember though, when the tennis courts were resurfaced, I guess I was 22, that kids or people were going on them while it was waiting for the finish and they had to keep
Yeah.
redoing it.
That, and then almost immediately after they were done curing, we had Ian and they sat underwater for about a week because that whole back area flooded.
Is there any way okay, how long for this process, how long is it gonna take for it to like finish once it's been set? Is it all, because it's not a full resurfacing? So I'm assuming it's not gonna have like a longer curing process like before.
Yeah, basically it's a paint job.
So it should be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right.
And we're not gonna have any storms until next summer.
And this is funded in this year's reserve.
Oh, no.
Well, I was just wondering if we needed anything added to prevent anything happening in the process.
Sorry, I don't want to go off on the gate thing, but maybe, do we have camera, like, have we looked at,
There are no cameras over there now.
Yeah,
maybe it's a technology thing rather than.
that's what I keep thinking is that cameras are gonna save us a lot if we, particularly if we have two-way communication cameras where somebody can be looking going, hey, you kid on the skateboard.
Can we kick it to technology?
Yeah, we can. We just contractually, we can't actively monitor cameras.
We can't.
Doesn't Artisan,
In your contract with Real Manage, it states in there that we don't actively monitor.
Oh, you don't want to. You guys don't want
It's a
that.
liability.
It's a liability. Okay.
All right.
That would be fun.
Well, that's helpful. So it's just.
All right, everybody gonna be okay with that?
Yeah.
To approve standard of operation for Friday Flash as recommended by the comm committee. Any thoughts, suggestions?
This is basically was part of their charter to have, the Friday Flash. As a way, that things are equitable to all organizations in the community, and these put some guidelines in place for not only for management, but for the organizations because when you are kind of like promoting your organization, you don't want to oversaturate things to the point where it's like people glaze over it. So this benefits both the organizations, the readers, and management, just to kind of have guidelines in place.
The one question I have, is there a way, this is great, what's written here. Is there a way to add a maximum pixel height to a thing? Because this has potential to be a 300 swipe scroll of an email.
Mhm.
And if we can limit it's basically advertising what this is. And if we can limit a height of something, so someone doesn't have,
Talking about images or just the amount of
the whole
total content?
content, their whole content.
Well, what we should probably have is word limits
Yeah,
and-
they have that.
and image size limits.
That's not it.
And one of the larger things is that it requires a submission every week. So you can't give us a document 6 months in advance and want it in every single Friday Flash. You have to submit it on a weekly basis. That also keeps.
But I do think there should be standardization of image sizes so that,
Size, yeah.
that they're told you have to have a 500 by 1000 pixel image or whatever.
That was my only note. I know there's a file size, 600 to 800 pixel, that's for the file size, but not on the dimensions of the image. Otherwise, this could be, if you print it out, it's a 30-page email.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're gonna lose people with the swipe. If you have to swipe for 20 minutes just to read the whole email,
Yeah, we can add an image size.
I don't know what that is.
And it should be standardized so that everybody,
Well,
so that you don't end up with squished images and.
Do you all do any I know this from my own experience, like any ADA stuff, like contrast, looking at readability, acid testing, anything
I
like
know
that?
we're trying to work on it with the website,
Nothing in emails though?
not yet.
Anybody have any
We talked
issues?
about this, it's just,
Trailer use for the 30th anniversary trailer use fee. The 30th, that's it. Questions, thoughts, opinions?
Are we using your logo?
I don't. I didn't sell it. You can
it's
put
got
it
the
in.
celebration seal on it.
Oh,
So
it's got
this
the
is a
seal.
trailer that was donated by Cardinal Painting to bring back kind of the party trailer that used to be in existence.
Mhm.
And we're rolling it out as part of the 30th anniversary.
Let's see, everybody okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Motion to approve reallocation for, funds for the motor and pump replacement. This is from operating to reserves because it actually does make sense. It should be reserved. Everybody okay with that? Cool. Now we're on to discussion items and we're going to talk about insurance, which is the scariest conversation we've probably had in the past several months. Because I understand it means a lot more money. And would you like to introduce?
Me?
Yeah.
Hey Doug. You want to introduce yourself?
I thought you would do it. All right. This is Doug Deerdorf from the Baldwin Group. The new insurance people we're gonna be working with. And he has a really thick presentation.
Yeah, only take a couple hours. We'll be good.
Oh, okay.
That was good.
I would-
Yeah, so
I'm gonna ask that
you've got 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes, okay. I'm gonna ask that you kind
You
of
can have five.
Okay.
go through this in the order that we kind of go through it together, so don't cheat
Okay.
too much, don't go ahead too much. Cause I want to walk you through some things. I'm gonna leave that extra one here.
I will say, not to make you go fast, but because we are looking at a document that wasn't shared with the community before, and we're now doing something that nobody else can participate in, we do need to be cognizant of that.
Do that all the time, though. We always get stuff.
It's, but we can. I'm just gonna go
He's
on
gonna
the
provide
agenda.
an updated
Update.
digital copy
Yeah.
that we will post then on the website.
Okay,
Yeah, we're gonna do it. There's a couple of things that came in last minute that saved $2,000, so I didn't want to exclude that. But we'll need to update the final document, give it to you in digital format. So that's what I was mentioning, maybe even after this meeting, maybe we even collect all of that and dispose of it and then reissue it, just, so just for reference at this point. So the first document I'm gonna ask you to look at is the page that's in the landscape orientation. It was inside the book. And it's got your logo at the bottom left. I say your logo, I live here too. So our logo at the bottom right and the Baldwin Group at the bottom left. What this is just kind of a highlights, an overview. We're gonna go through the proposal. We'll go as rapidly through it as possible, pausing for any questions that you have. But I thought it would be good to kind of summarize some things, because part of the reason why you hired us was because of our due diligence in examining the existing program, which we found, a lot of issues with, right? A lot of problems. So this is kind of broken down by line of coverage. And I wanted to highlight some things because it's directly reflected to obviously the premium that we're going to be seeing. So let's kind of walk through these quickly. So property coverage. So upon the review of the property policy, we discovered that there was $5,813,853 of property items that were not insured. This also, it also was discovered that some items were omitted and other items were duplicate. An example of that will be Island Village Clubhouse was not insured. Artisan Clubhouse was insured twice. That's just an example. This does not consider any of the items that are under $30,000 in value. We understand those are being self-insured. And so those are not in consideration of the $5.8 million. So the $5.8 million of property items, and those values come directly from the appraisal. If you hire a third-party vendor to provide that appraisal to you, Sedgwick, I believe, is the company. And they're, again, a very high-quality firm. We use them often. That's based upon their appraisal, reconstruction cost value is what that is, right? It has nothing to do with market value. It's bricks and sticks and labor. What's it going to cost to rebuild? So that does not include those $30,000 and under items. Also, the wind deductible, we were able to reduce that from 5% to 3%. The premium was also renewed with a decreased rate. Now, the premium is going to go up because we got to have $5.8 million worth of property that's not insured prior, but the rate itself is reduced. So we have a reduction in rate that we negotiated and also a reduction in deductible. So those are both great things. And the carrier only offered this because we shopped the property coverage and we offered alternatives and we gave the incumbent a last look. So we shopped it and found some options, which we did present to you and you'll see. And we asked them to get better on their price and better on their deductible, and they did that. Additionally, for no extra cost, the carrier added what's called ordinance and law coverage, which you did not have last year. Because we had a competitive quote that had that coverage, and I can discuss in great detail if anybody would like to go to sleep, what ordinance and law is, but it's a good thing to have. It's basically code enforcement, extra money for code enforcement issues if you have to rebuild a building and it's out of code. So those are all really, really good things. So I'm going to pause right there and talk about property insurance for a second, and then we can move on, with the other line items. So any comments or questions or concerns about property?
So basically, we're going from 72 to 117 on the property coverage, right?
On the premium.
On the premium.
Yeah. So
So that
second
means
page,
that we,
75 to 117.
how much property was covered before we found the extra 6 million in property?
Yeah, so that's in the bound presentation, and it's on page.
Schedule of property.
It's on page 6.
Ah,
On the left-hand side, you'll see the set 9.7 million in property, that
Yeah.
goes to 15.6.
ah,
So that's the 5.8.
And again, those were items that were essentially missed. And if you look on page 7, I'm sorry, actually it's back on pages 4 and 5, you'll see that full schedule listed out, every item and the value that it's insured.
got it.
And again, we have a comparison sheet of what was left off, what's now added, and all these things are taken directly from the appraisal and the values are from the appraisals.
That's my only question.
Any other additional questions on the property coverage? And just so you know, and I'll kind of show that bounce back and forth since we started with that. So in the actual bound proposal, again, the loose piece of paper that I gave you, in addition to the first one, has an updated of your page 3 in your bound proposal. This is an update. It's just not in color. Because I'd already left the office and had to print this where I didn't have color option. So,
Wait, I actually do have another question.
Yep.
The entry monument sign at World Drive and Celebration Boulevard. When I was on CDD, we were always paying for that. I thought that was CDD's property. Not, it's down here, entry monument sign is CROA property.
yeah, and it can be removed if not. We were given it on the appraisal as if it was your property. So if the appraisal is wrong and needs to be removed, then that item can be removed in the.
So you guys are gonna go through this with a fine tooth comb? Okay, because, yeah, that's not ours. Okay, continue.
Absolutely, yeah, and anything that needs to be adjusted, we have time to do that, before the removal. The next item is the general liability. So upon review, we discovered that there were several exposures not being contemplated for rating. This could have exposed the association to denial coverage. The most glaring oversight was the 1,973 apartment residents that have access to the amenities that were never considered in the rating of general liability. So that's, if something were to happen, and it would have been discovered that that's where they came from, there could have been a denial of coverage, maybe not, but it certainly needed to be corrected. There was also one exclusion on the policy that we attempted to get removed. It's an abuse and molestation exclusion. The carrier was not willing to remove that. So if there's a claim related to an abuse and molestation event that the association is named in that claim, the general liability policy is going to deny coverage. We do have, and we don't have it in the proposal because they didn't get us the quote yet, but we have a quote coming for a standalone abuse and molestation policy to partner with the general liability. They're telling me the estimated premium is somewhere around 20 grand.
So
I don't have that number.
So the increase that we're seeing in general liability, that's as a result of adding the apartments, or is that as a result of the experience in the renewal?
It's a result of both. It's a result of the experience mod, or not experience mod, that they work comp, but basically the loss, the claims history.
Yeah.
And it's also, and there has been, there have been some recent claims filed, they're still open. And then also the rating factors that had agents.
Do we know what percentage of that is specific to the apartments versus what's specific to our claims history?
Yeah. Let me see if it's actually in the proposal. If not, it will be in the rating worksheet
Yeah, and we can talk about this
from the carrier, but, and in this proposal, the general liability, there are so many exposures that it's a little tough to read. And before we send you the final version, I'm gonna try to do a better job of having maybe turn the page landscape so I can get a better side-by-side comparison. But the general liability kind of stretches on multiple pages because there are so many rating factors. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have the dollars associated, but there is a dollar amount associated, and we can specifically point that out.
Okay.
There's an exclusion for amusement devices. Does that include playgrounds or is that roller coasters?
Yeah, no, not the playgrounds. The playgrounds are contemplated as a rating factor. All the various playgrounds, the pools, the playgrounds, the other sporting type event, the tennis sports, things like that. But no, yeah, it would be not.
So if we inflate a bounce house, that's excluded for this.
That's right. Yeah. So if you bring in an outside vendor, they have insurance, all of that is great. We don't want to be putting up our own bounce houses. And they cause more issues than you might imagine. That particular. So the general liability, and of all your policies, when you begin to look at the premiums, of course, it's the single largest one. Because while you're insuring a significant amount of property, all the condo associations insure their own property, so you're only insuring the common elements But the liability exposure is every. So that's why the liability, and that liability policy also, keep in mind, you'll notice when you look at that separate premium summary page that I provided, you'll see that the auto and the liquor liability are included in that package, right? They're all part of the liability package from Philadelphia. And again, we did shop that coverage, but you have to be real careful moving a program that complex. And we worked with Philadelphia very closely, and they were really happy because they, we exposed a lot to them that they were not aware of, and they did a really good job, I think, on keeping the rate as best as they could. The auto coverage, the only issue there was we just made sure that we had all the correct drivers and vehicle lists, and Laura and her team have worked with us to get all that documentation that we needed, which, by the way, really appreciate all the help from the office. We asked a lot of questions. To dive this deep, we need a lot of data, and we know that takes a lot of time, and the office has been all over it. And honestly, we've been surprised sometimes how quickly we get stuff because they know where it's at. So it's been great.
Just a comment.
Yeah.
I don't think we should publish this online. There's some stuff in here, page 18 and 19. Specifically, just as an FYI, just so we don't. Or redact it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Yeah, we can redact that information. That's more for your review, like for our review to make sure that it's accurate.
I just want to make sure we don't get into a privacy breach.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
100%.
Sorry.
So we can like put this in here and we'll just do like redacted sections. So the auto, again, it was just making sure the drivers and the vehicles are correct. No real changes to coverage there. The coverage was fine. The liquor liability, that was essentially just an adjustment to gross sales, and that's something that we annually need to look at, make sure that the gross sales are accurate for liquor liability. And as far as in the bound proposal, the liquor liability is on page 20. The coverage is staying the same. Again, it's just rated upon liquor sales. So that is
While we're at general liability, because all of these that you've mentioned so far are included in the general liability
Yes, sir.
policy. What are our deductibles?
Yeah, so the deductible
There's just a lot of stuff in this thing that I've only.
I know it's a ton. Yeah, so the deductibles in the general liability policy, there's no deductibles for general liability. Slip and fall, bodily injury, property damage, no deductibles. The auto insurance has its own deductible.
I saw that was 1,000.
That's right. And the liquor liability, it has zero deductibles as well.
Is that there's a legal reason for that?
It's a common practice to have no deductible on general liability and liquor liability unless there have been, and don't get me wrong, you guys have had numerous claims, but they have to be pretty egregious for carriers to start wanting to put deductibles on liability policies.
So liquor liability, we don't, as CROA, Artisan, Canoa, but does CROA have to have liquor?
Well, because how the policy is written with the multiple named insureds.
Okay, so it has.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's included in that. Okay. You can move on to crime.
All right. So the crime policy, again, this was another area where we found some substantial issues. Crime is actually on page 21, but on my summary sheet, upon review, we discovered the association had a combined $14 million plus in account balances, again, across all accounts, but only had 7.6 million in coverage. Not only did this pose a coverage gap, but it also a violation of Florida statute 7. So we increased the base limit to the maximum allowed by the carrier to 10 million, and then we added an additional $4 million layer. That is also part of why I had to create this extra document, because last minute, like literally a couple hours ago, we got in an alternative quote. So if you look on.
Oh, the 678 versus 3879.
Yeah, so we're going on that excess layer, it's dropping down from $3,800 to $678 for that one line of coverage. So over $3,000 of savings. And that's going to be our recommendation to move from the Hartford to Travelers on that excess. The excess, again, the chances of it being breached are very minimal anyway. That's why they rate a little bit better on price. Hartford doesn't kind of give you any break on pricing for that. So we're going to recommend that move to Travelers there. But just to keep in mind, again, every one of the governing statutes in the state of Florida, whether it's 718 for condos, 720, the townhomes, co-ops, all of them have somewhere in their language, the crime bond responsibility for the association. And they all say essentially the same thing. How much money is in all the bank accounts? That's how much your crime bond is to be. That's kind of the language way.
So this is a no choice.
No, it's no choice at all. And that's why we shop at Doe Trade, the best pricing possible, because we have no choice on coverage. And it's something that we address annually. So when there's big, maybe assessments or claims and there's claims proceeds that fill into the bank accounts, we want to adjust those as we go. But again, that was one of the major things that we uncovered during the discovery process. Directors and officers is next. Directors and officers is on page 23 and on 24, because there are two different D&O policies. So there's one policy that has CJC, CROA, and CNOA on it, on the D&O policy, and then there's a separate D&O policy for CCS. And that has to do again with board members and who's on which boards and how they kind of interact with one another. So the carriers have not wanted to add CCS on the same D&O policy as the other three. They want to keep it separate.
Why? Because it's the same people.
It's the same people, but they feel like the risks are different. So the CROA, CNOA, and CNOA are kind of for the good of those associations, where the other association is more of a activities, events, promotions, outside events, things like that.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they are
So-
two different organizations.
Yeah, and the purpose behind those and what they do. But the premiums, again, it's a relatively, if they would have even offered a combined coverage, it wouldn't make much difference to the bottom line. The premium for the CCS is $413.
Oh, yeah, I just,
Right.
I would have asked.
So the bulk of the premium is, of course, on the other D&O policy.
Okay.
So basically, we ensured that those were written in, as coverages. There are a few notes I do want to point out on page 23 of the bound policy, or the bounds for presentation. You'll notice that it's highlighted, of course, all three are insured organizations, which is really good. But there is an exclusion on the policy, and it has been on there, and they wouldn't negotiate it off. And I don't necessarily disagree with the reasoning, but there's an exclusion related to if one association board wants to sue the other association board, there's an exclusion. These boards, all this one policy can't try to sue each other. So there's exclusions for that. And then you'll see also an exclusion related to Celebration Community Services, Celebration Company, tenants of Celebration, non-residential owners association. So basically, all these entities can't sue each other, and board members sue each other. If there's, again, we're not talking about liability issues, slip and fall, any of those things. This is just board members on one board deciding to sue board members on another board because they're angry about something. These policies are going to say, look, we're not going to get into that across these boards. And so there's exclusions for all of that. And it's pretty common when you have a lot of common board members on different boards.
It can still happen, it's just not insured.
It's just not.
Oh, yeah, it can happen.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah, well, no one's gonna stop it from happening, but there's no insurance coverage to protect anybody on that. Yeah,
It wouldn't be advised.
it would not be advised, that's right.
Yeah, the next one, the umbrellas, that's one of I'm just looking at that jump. I get all the others. That one I don't get.
Yeah, well, let's talk about workers' comp.
Oh,
because
workers'
it's
comp.
easy. Yes, super simple, we'll walk right through it. So again, just for everyone's information and benefit, we know that the association has no direct employees. This is a volunteer policy. It's meant for when volunteers get hurt, they can have their injuries, just like a worker could have their injuries, their medical, but there's no lost wages because they're a volunteer. There is also a slight provision in the state statute for workers' compensation that says if you hired a vendor who you vetted, you got their proof of insurance, they had work comp, all of that, but then one of their workers gets hurt, and it's found out later that that worker was not on the policy had canceled for non-payment, something like that, and that worker tries to sue the association, and it's only about their injuries, there is some provision for injury protection on that for medical for that injured worker.
In this 500.
But it's not intended to hire uninsured workers, right? That's why it's only $500, right? There's no payroll attached to this at all. So that policy, we're only moving carriers. I did mention that we're moving carriers because CNA, who you were with, can audit these policies. And if they choose to audit, then your office has to provide proof for every vendor during the policy period and all their proofs of insurance and all their workers' comp and prove that all the people who came on site were on the work comp. And it's just a paperwork nightmare. So we moved it to a company called PMA, which does not audit for community associations. They understand your business. They understand what happens in a community association. And so they don't audit. So we moved it there. It's not a pricing issue because the state of Florida sets the price. So that's the only reason I'm changing carriers there. So, so the umbrella. So you're absolutely right, Don.
I mean, I looked at that and went, holy crap.
No, you're not wrong. So I'll give you a little bit of information. It won't make it any less painful, but it will just provide some data. So if you went back and looked at this association's umbrella policy, and I haven't seen it going back 10, 15, 20 years, but I know this because I insure over 500 associations in Florida, many of them for up to 15 years. So there was a time period before COVID where the umbrella premium probably didn't go up even a penny year over year over year over year. It's probably literally to the penny, the same premium going back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Didn't go up. Not for years, not for any association. The umbrella industry was very, very flat. Then COVID comes, the world loses its mind and things go sideways. I personally had board members being sued for reopening the fitness center. The next condo down the street, the board got sued for not opening the fitness center. I mean, it was a wild time in our country and our world. We all know that. And a lot of umbrella policies got hit really hard during that process across multiple industries, not just associations. We're talking manufacturing, contractors, everything. The umbrella industry had to take a step back. A lot of carriers pulled out of umbrella coverage altogether, and they began to renegotiate or relook at their actual underwriting and their pricing. And over the last 2 to 3 years, umbrella policies have been taking massive increases. This year in particular, more than any. Most umbrellas are doubling and tripling in price. There's been a few carriers that have stepped in and tried to kind of find a place to make some money in the market and kind of undercut some of that. But umbrella policies have been really, taking a big hit because they paid more claims than they ever have paid historically. And that's again, not just condos and HOAs, that's across the industry, across the insurance industry. We did provide you with some options on page 26 towards the bottom on the left. If you wanted to reduce the premium amount, the coverage amount.
So stepping down from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1.
That's right. So there's options there. We wanted to provide the options because we know the premium is so much more. We also did, work hard to try to shop that, with other carriers. But there was not even we didn't even get a single response, when we sent the applications in, for the carrier. So with the size of this community and all that wraps up into it, I hate to see you go less than a $5 million umbrella, but I understand.
What's our claims history on the umbrella?
Or claims history just in general.
But
On the umbrella, zero.
So the trend in the industry is that they're individually underwriting us as an association, correct?
In combination with their
With the
losses.
trend with
But we have the general liability covering us first.
That's correct.
Then the umbrella is everything.
Then the umbrella kicks in over and above
The
that.
umbrella sits over top of general liability and the director's office.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the
So
liquor
if we
li-
exceed the million in directors and officers, the umbrella kicks in.
Yes,
I can drop to 2, but we couldn't do that until after April 12th was finished. Actually, we 5 with that contract, with D'Angelo Stein.
Oh, okay, for the project.
But after the project is complete, that provides.
Because it does seem like for an additional 20,000 a year, over 5 million. Sometimes I, unless it's required by law, I do believe often organizations, people overinsure. And they don't look at ways to bring them down like deductibles. So I think if we have to do it now, we have to do it now, but I think we should consider.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we should look at that contract. I'm sure that it's 5 million requirement for us, but
and if it's 5 million total, it could be the 4 million umbrella
it could
plus
be
the
a
1
5
million
million
liability.
total, yeah.
Right.
So you can maybe save
Is
some.
that in our existing, or is that the special builder policy that we had to get?
uh,
Because we had to get that special builder policy, which I think covers that.
that may cover that gap.
Yeah.
And then we don't even need this at all.
Yes.
Well, then if we can do that, I'm seeing we're probably going to be interested because that's going to bring us down below 4.
Yeah.
On our total premium, which is we're already talking a $107,000 increase.
Right.
So if we can get that down to like $70,000 or about $90,000.
And the liquor liability is limited to $1 million of this umbrella. On top of its million, you only get 1 million of the 5 if it's a liquor related issue anyway.
Yeah.
So liquor doesn't get the full 5 anyway. So yes, whatever direction.
We should look into that. Yeah. All right, cool. That's
Okay.
umbrella.
Yeah, so that's umbrella equipment breakdown. We moved this policy, moving it from Hartford to Travelers. As you can see, the premium was reduced by, over $1,000. So that was a good move. Hartford actually came down in price a little bit when we went back to them with the Travelers price. They went down a couple, $100, but they wouldn't move much. So we're recommending keeping the equipment breakdown policy in force, but moving it to Travelers, save about $1,000. And the
Cyber.
liability, we're not recommending any changes there. The premiums are,
Went down.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah, the cyber is. Again, so cyber is becoming its own industry, so to speak. Within Baldwin Group, we actually have our own dedicated cyber specialist, right? It's an entire group inside of our company. That's all they focus on is cyber. Of course, the big focus on that is in retail and GovCon and other areas, not community associations for the most part. But it does mean that the industry is getting better at rates. And most people remember the big Target breach several years ago, and that was kind of the big news where, all the information was lost and people's private data. The industry is getting better at it. Cybersecurity is getting better, but unfortunately, bad guys are getting better too. But community associations receive very favorable pricing because the risk is pretty low.
We don't have a lot to do.
That's right. Most of your data that you have is public data, so it could be acquired some of them. And the last of the environmental liability, we actually, upon review, discovered several rating factors that were an issue. And for example, and that is on page 30. So what was not contemplated for, so if you look at the top under expiring policy and then renewal options, you'll see the coverage is the same, $1 million. The deductible is the same, $5,000. There were some inaccuracies on the number of units. Now, this may seem like so when it relates to how many units are accessing amenities versus the apartments and then the actual celebration, community, we had to adjust that obviously on general liability. But the way this environmental liability policy reads, it's not wanting to include any other than certain homes within the community. So we sent them, and again, thanks to Lauren and her team, we've got detailed spreadsheets on every neighborhood, how many homes, all of that data. And we asked them to review it, and they only wanted to rate on the 4881. But they did want to make some adjustments. The number of pools was wrong. So it was rated down 6 pools, we moved that to 9. And also there was no rating for any above ground storage tanks for like chemicals, pool chemicals. So we adjusted that as well.
Yeah, kiddie pools are separate.
Oh, okay. So I understand that there's a time constraint, time pressure on this thing.
Yes, I mean, the insurance renews on, well, it says on the first, on the back, if that's not correct, it doesn't renew on the first.
Supposed to go tomorrow.
December 6th.
Yeah, the sixth, yeah, so,
So we might want to postpone CJC to fresh.
Yeah, that's fine. Can we do that? Notice that?
It qualifies as an
Yeah.
requirement, so yeah,
So CJC will decide to vote on this
on Friday.
on Friday. So it'll, okay.
So we'll get these changes made.
Yeah, those changes can be made that quickly.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make the changes, we'll internally make them, I'll begin making them tonight. And we'll get with the carriers, the only thing we're gonna need to know, let me actually do this,
Yeah, can we run through what the changes?
yeah, let's make sure we're on the same page with the changes. The only, I'll need to know from you which umbrella option we wanna select, so that we have it right on there,
We have to look at that.
We gotta look at a contract.
that's fine, so I'll wait to hear from you on that.
2 million if we can do it. 2 million if we can do it,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah. Everybody good? Consensus?
So I'll put 2 million if available, based on the other contract. Let's see. So we wanted to look at items that are under the CDD and not under CROA.
Right, and yeah, just make sure, I know the wall is CCDD, so that.
Number 62 on property.
But there may be others. just-
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There's property items. Okay. And that'll be something that I'll send an email out tonight, to Lauren, but I'll have to wait to hear back on that. So that was the property. The general liability. So the auto, I need to redact.
Yeah, we just need to redact 18 and 19. Or management redact or whatever, someone, but as long as it's redacted.
What were they?
Those are.
I don't think we had changes to the general liabilities.
No, I.
Yeah, I'm gonna make changes to general liability or the lender. I need to just redact out of the proposal the driver's license numbers. To do that.
The whole
Yeah,
thing, the whole thing, names, everything.
Yeah, we don't that.
That's
Together. This isn't tied to the renewal, but I do think we need to figure out the apartments.
Well, I need to give you the rate, how much that costs, right?
Yeah.
What they're for.
But that's not gonna hold up the renewal. We just, that's for an account.
Yep, yep.
That's
I'll give you a breakout.
accounting. We're gonna need to figure out.
Any others? I think that was it.
Yeah, so we're looking at renewal option 2 here, right?
It's gonna be renewal option
Three.
three.
But we,
There are some slight differences between 2 and 3. So what we typically do on renewals is we have the expiring, renewal 1 is the closest to the renewal of the expiring. Option 2 would be any possible other options, and option 3 is gonna be our recommendation.
Well, but we've got the umbrella change, so this is,
So it'll be.
so it'll be a modified
technically it's a renewal option 4.
Yeah, so yeah. And what we can do is we can replace option 3 with option 4 once you select the umbrella limit. And if we need to remove any property items, we'll do that as well.
What was the, honestly, you may have said this, what was the reason for 3/4, 3/2?
It's the property carriage. So we didn't really go into the details on it, but you'll see that your property was with Superior Specialty. We got a competitive quote from Vantage Risk. But if you look on page 7, starting on page 7 of the spiral bound, you'll notice some highlighted items that they're not willing to insure.
Right,
And they're typically like the wood type structures, right? The pergolas and things like that.
that was Vantage was not willing.
That's Vantage Risk is not willing to insure those items. Partially why then their total insured value is only 14 million, because we have to take some items off the schedule. So when you compare the actual insured value and you look at the rate, it's not really a savings. You're just reducing coverage, and those items should be insured.
So it wasn't apples to apples.
yeah, okay.
It wasn't, but what was nice about it was we were able to use that as a competitive bid to get the pricing down, get the deductible down on the other. So had we not had that, we wouldn't have gotten probably down to the 3% deductible, with still been a 5%, things like that.
So how does the Island Village addition of homes and everything coming, is that contemplated in all of this? With the addition of,
That'll be added on at the time that we.
so as we go forward into the next renewal cycle,
That's right.
we're gonna be, okay.
Yeah, and it can be, if it gets to a place where there are enough homes added and we're in the middle of the policy period and we need to add them midterm, we can, and sometimes that's the right thing to do. And if not, we just do it the right.
Okay.
I think that was a great presentation. And I don't like how much money we have to pay, but it's a good thing you found that
What's
stuff.
hard hammer?
And I am
clause?
really,
What was that?
What's hard hammer clause?
Hard hammer clause. Okay, so.
Sorry.
I don't know.
I got.
Okay, all right. Insurance.
Let me ask ChatGPT.
Insurance rule. So
Insurance. I know.
a hammer clause in a D&O policy says this. Someone brings litigation against the board. The board says, we don't want to, and the carrier says, we want to settle for $10,000. And the board says, nope, we don't want to settle. We're going to court. They say, okay, fine. But we go to court and now you're found liable for more than the 10,000. We'll pay the 10, but anything over that, you're liable for 100%, unless there's a hammer clause. And if the hammer clause is like a 70-30 or an 80-20, then they'll take 80%, you pay 20% of the above what they would have paid originally. So a soft hammer clause is a good thing for you. If you do go to court and limit your liability, maybe just let them pay out. But that's what a hammer.
We
clause
pretty
is.
much let the insurance company do what they're supposed to
That's
do.
right. But there are times where that does happen. People want to fight it. And I understand it, because a lot of times it's kind of like blood in the water. Insurance companies pay, so attorneys keep filing claims and suits, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So I fully understand the.
Morgan, Morgan.
That's right. I use those quotes.
Sorry.
So you'll handle moving the meeting?
I'll move CJC first thing in the morning.
And you'll get all the information to him, you'll get the thing to them, they can vote.
And I would say this summary page maybe is fine to keep, maybe everything else, Lori collects and you dispose of.
You can have everything.
Let me just take them, okay. And then you'll get the digital version of it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That was a good presentation. That's better than I thought.
That's why we moved agents.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We had too much fun without me.
All right, so we have a few discussion items to cover before we can sneak out. Let's talk about the placement of 3 to 6 NEVs.
So on this item, I'm gonna pass it to Louise to introduce it and start the discussion. I'll just preface that we wanted to bring this as a discussion to really just discuss it with the board and kind of bring where we are and to seek your input. We haven't gone out and gotten final quotes or things, so it's really just at that high level.
Okay.
About.
Please.
Good afternoon. Well, basically, the actual condition of those 6 nets that we have in maintenance, 4 of them are out of order. And when we get them to work, the charge doesn't last, and it takes another 2 hours to charge them to work 45 minutes. So it's really, it couldn't really big stress on the team and then productivity, obviously. It's effective, even though we're working 200 sales work orders a month and we're increasing, but this is a big component of our operation because of the distances. And we're suggesting 3 of the 6 to be Ford Mavericks, which is a small kind of pickup truck that will help us move the power washers, the equipment that we have and materials from the different areas, and then 3 easy goes. But if possible, we would like to consider 4 Mavericks instead of 3 and 2 easy goes. Because of all the materials and the parts, the items that we have to move from the village to the shop to work on those.
What about the thought of just getting rid of, just going to gasoline, regular old vehicles, a couple of cars and 4 trucks or something like that?
So instead of doing the easy goes, doing all.
Oh, that would be ideal.
How much are the easy goes?
18,000
Yeah,
or more, depending on
I was gonna say or more.
or more, because like for example, in my previous job, we ordered 110 of easy goes, 8 to 1200 size motors, and they will good, but
I mean,
That's the maintenance costs less than, I assume, the nets for the easy go.
the issue with the NFs is that the only company who service them is from Georgia. There is a local company here, but because we didn't purchase them from them, they don't touch. And we have another vendor that will work on them, but he is it's hostage because he had to buy the parts from the manufacturer, so it takes forever.
I have a couple questions before we get to like what the future would bring for the cars. I have some questions on like the current status of the NEVs. Like in the past, so I guess like in the past, what would we do when they needed to be serviced?
Well, in the past, we would just take them offline until we get them serviced. One of the biggest issues that we have currently is we've increased our staff count in maintenance and in community standards, which is another subject, but we haven't been increasing the vehicle count. So before, where team could sometimes go out as an individual in one vehicle, and if one went down, they could double up. Right now, all vehicles are doubled up at all times. So we don't have the opportunity to have down vehicles right now without it impacting what can be serviced or what we can.
And the only other thing I'm kind of confused on is because like our last update on September 29th, I think it was, like all 6 NEVs were working and up to date on maintenance. So this all happened within the past 2 months. These went down. Is that like, I'm just trying to figure out like what transpired, because it's kind of like it's a big thing to kind of like happen all at once. So before we kind of talk about it, I want to understand.
They've been limping through the year, and we've been doing consistent maintenance, changing batteries on them, but at this point, they're all starting to fail to the point where it's beyond our ability internally to repair them and keep them up to date. And waiting for that company to come down here to repair them is taking longer and longer. I think the other piece is the maintenance cost on them is increasing to the point of it's not really worth to continue to maintain some of these, especially since we know 3 of them are up for replacement next year, another 3 the year after, and another 3 the year after that.
That is my question. I think we need to look at the fleet overall, because we have 18 vehicles we're about to insure. We're only talking about 3 to 6 right now. We need to look at the whole plan and forecast it all out rather than just make a decision for one department with just their vehicles right now.
So we actually have a lot of that captured in the next action item when it comes to the dumpster bay and the inspector nevs. So we were gonna kind of dovetail into that, but we, going into that, that is something we were looking at already. As far as fleet acquisition as well, is that, better rates on a larger purchase of those vehicles.
What is the warranty on, like, how does that work with the gas, is that what they're called, gas haulers? The
Easy go.
the easy go, yeah. Like, what do those typically look like?
The warranty usually is a year on most of the components. And the motor, I think it's up to 3, depending on, but you have to follow certain maintenance and get the extra maintenance contract with them per vehicle.
And do we have, I assume those can be serviced locally too? That's the difference too with versus nevs. We have people that we can take it or someone for the larger market.
The challenge that we have with the next two is that if that vendor that services them is from Georgia,
Right.
if they don't have anybody else that needs service in this area, they
Captive
put them together.
To the point of an overall plan, I really do think we need a fleet plan. I think this is absolutely critical because we're to that point. We need to get rid of the NEVs. All NEVs need to go. Because we can't drive them to Island Village. They are very expensive for what you get. You can buy a brand new Nissan Versa for less than the cost of a decent NEV. So a regular car that can go on the highway. So you can buy lightly used ones for $14,000. The brand, if we buy enough Mavericks, we can get those for under 30.
Yeah, but for replacing an inspector net, you don't need a big vehicle at all.
No, like a little
Yeah.
Versa.
So as we were looking at Ford EcoSports or Chevy Trax, which is, small, like.
So that's, I think we need a whole plan.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we need a plan to incorporate what we have that can last, add to that, keep them all within a similar family, so the maintenance costs are lower and they're spread across a similar fleet so that like, if we could, we can get the oil changed at the same places, we can get the maintenance is done at the same place.
So does it make sense? I'll say it, I'm sure I'll get crap for it, but does CDD also have a need? And maybe is there an opportunity to look at partnering with them on a fleet?
So they're all,
Well, the only reason I'm saying it is because it's somehow there's better purchasing power working with them.
they don't own their fleet, I don't.
Infomark owns it.
Infomark owns.
Oh, they do, okay.
Infomark and then their landscape contractors.
Yeah, so, so it's us.
So. That's it, well, okay.
So when I purchased the 11 vehicles in my previous job, we got an agreement with them and they come on site to do the oil changes and insert the warranty. So they.
Yeah, that's the thing is that if we purchase in bulk, we're gonna get stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
So we need a plan.
propose an overall plan.
Well, for at least the 18 that we have, plus whatever else you think we need with phase 2.
In Island Village,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, because we need to put that into the next budget coming up and
And the next 3.
exactly. So, yeah, that, we've got to have that. Because I really do think we have to get rid of NEFs. We're too big now for NEFs.
So it's dovetailing.
Plus, they're not comfortable. And I wouldn't want to be in one in the summer.
Like, what's being done like right now in the meantime? Like, because this is like down the road, but there's issues when I'm hearing like right now. So like logistically, like how are things, how is it working right now? And like, is there a request in with the Georgia company for a repair? Like, where are we?
Right now, we have a local vendor that we are using, but the challenge, like I said, is that they have their hostage of the manufacturer getting parts, so they have a car they fix one partially
So
with,
one
with
is-
like aftermarket parts
Mhm.
and it will work for, undetermined period of time, but the one, they have one in the shop, then when we get that one, we send the other. So, because they don't.
I think we're gonna, part of this plan, I think this plan needs to be done quick, legal. And I think as part of it, we're gonna have January to look at a couple of vehicles at least
Mhm.
to help replace some of these things that are just not fixable. We keep replacing batteries and they're still not holding charges.
In some preliminary conversation we've had, there's been, dealerships are wondering if we're looking at doing the acquisition before the end of the year, with pricing information. So we, with this, we are comfortable that we will work to get this on your next board agenda
Okay.
at a proposal level for that.
And what, like, so like realistically, what are we talking about? Are we looking at doing like 3 in 2025? And are we looking at 18 in 2025? Like,
We need a fleet plan.
Somewhere between, way between
It
the two.
wouldn't be 18, it would be looking right now at just the NEV or replacing the NEVs, not any of the gas vehicle engines.
But how many is that? That's a lot.
That is 9.
We only own 9 total.
Now, this would all be a reserve expense, right?
Yes.
So this is not affecting our operating budget.
Yeah, that's fine, but still, it's still money.
No, it's money, but
yeah,
it's, I think in the long run, it's gonna save us because these vehicles, as we all know from our personal cars, gasoline vehicles in the world are the state of the art. They're well made.
But there is implication for the operating fund, because if we're spending less on the gas, then it trickles into the operating fund, and then we're paying less of for the gas and for the day-to-day. So
Yeah,
there is implication.
But
It's,
the amount of driving that's done in Celebration.
well, Island Village is gonna increase that. There's gonna be more
Yeah,
back and forth and.
And do keep in mind, there's also the line for the NEV batteries, which is out of reserves, that we are going to be
They're
on an annual
expensive.
basis, around 8,000, or 7,000 to 8,000 a year.
okay, that's a lot of gas.
First, cutting out gas, blowers too, right?
Yeah, that's 2,600 gallons of gas. That's about 25 miles a gallon.
Getting rid of electric.
That's 67,000 miles driven by those, which won't happen. Yeah, please do that. Let's do this so we don't have a crisis.
Okay, one more.
I just hate crises.
and I asked this before, and I don't want it to be like, bothersome, but if possible, what will happen to the old nets?
With the 3 inspector NEVs, those ones, we would probably, we look at selling those as they are newer and their phase out is in a couple more years. They're also 4-seater white NEVs, the resale value is
So-
on a higher market.
Three.
Most of the NEVs from maintenance are in a condition that would probably just be a buy by the, what the buyback.
Someone will buy them in town.
If we can, I don't know if it's possible, but just for like, purposes, could we get an idea of what the resale amount would be? So we can take that number also into consideration with the total.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, just, I understand
So,
this to be approximate, but just to have an idea. That would be helpful.
And CROA doesn't have a need to join this in any way, so just,
They
I
have one-
keep.
They have one vehicle
They're just
and it
one.
was purchased last year.
Wow, used gems go for a lot.
Yeah.
They go for a lot.
Yeah.
The cheapest one I can find is 9,000.
People sell them in
Yeah,
town.
all of those, even the bad ones, still selling.
Yeah, because somebody will fix them.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're gonna get that done. Any other questions on the vehicles? It looks like. we're
I
gonna do-
understand the urgency to want to buy them this year because of the end of the year sales and all that, so but we need all the information if we're gonna do that.
Totally agree.
Very grateful.
Let's talk about the dumpster bay design build. This ties into this because we
Yeah, it
won't
should
need
make
to
it
do
quick.
anything.
Yeah, so our recommendation would be to not move forward with a new dumpster bay if we're phasing out NEVs and utilize the existing one as the dumpster bay once the phase out's done.
We just funded our fleet.
Does it need to be repainted with the buildings?
Yeah.
So how do we do that? We just do a change order for that with? Okay, so can we request that?
That and the gate needs to be repaired.
That's the current one.
The current-
They're looking at that. Yeah,
Just take it off.
the rusted on it. Yeah, I think that the paint to double check, but I'm pretty sure the painting of that bay is included in the
Yeah.
painting of the building already.
Oh, okay.
So there, you go. No extra expense.
And I know that what they were looking at, the gate, there may be a change order coming to replace the gate. We requested that a while ago, so they may already be working on that, or it wasn't, so we'll see. Of the current bay.
That could be deferred also.
Any other questions on the dumpster bay?
What was that approximation originally, 20,000 or 40,000?
For the dumpster bay?
Yeah, that we were gonna have to build the dumpster.
So in the October 8th meeting, it was, there was an action item to approve the dumpster bay design in the amount of 7,800, which didn't pass because we wanted to look at it as a full
Right.
project. The bids came back to build out a full bay at 113,000 and 48,000 is what we received back.
So somewhere between 2 and 4 new vehicles.
Yeah, so we're
Exactly.
saving.
So it goes into that.
Okay. How about
Let's do that.
the activity room light replacement?
Okay. Top of this one. So this is another one that was just brought to the board as it was just requested as an option. So the back activity room, when we first were talking about the plans and before we finalized with D'Angelo's Diamond, we shared in a meeting that this room is receiving very, very minimal touch to it outside of the floor. That was one of the main things being changed in here. The ceilings and walls were not scoped in the current project. The light fixtures themselves are the fluorescent ones. There's the offer to change them to match the rest of the building, which is going to be in a style like this, which is LED lightings. And to do the change out of all of those in that back activity room is a change order that was proposed at $7,592.
And we removed the pendant lights then?
That one wasn't getting vented.
So it has existing.
Oh, it's the one, oh, yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, they can come out.
yeah,
I mean, they should come out, right?
So again, the ceiling tiles, the majority of them that were not damaged from water stains or were not scoped for replacement in the project either. So removing the pendant lights would be just replacing more ceiling tile. So I could take that back and ask for a change to this to see what it would cost by removing the pendant lights entirely and then updating all the ceiling tiles to be the same.
it would be nice to know the price. Those are silly in that room and they don't match any of the other spaces. And so why change this light if the other lights still mess it up?
Yeah, I like the idea of going to LEDs,
Yeah.
fluorescents. I really do, for a variety of reasons.
How many fixtures is it? Doesn't say.
It doesn't say. I had a picture in there today.
We should know that
Yes.
in the proposal.
Okay. I can
And
get that.
actually, a little more detail on this change order, because it doesn't say that labor is included, it just says new, that they need to provide more detail.
Yeah, it's 12 fixtures.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Courtyard concrete roof damage.
That just makes sense, we should do it.
Yes, we need to fix it.
I mean,
It's also a reserve expenditure.
Okay, so
So, okay.
What is it exactly?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
we don't know what the
Where?
project is, that back courtyard, that back entryway into town hall.
Yeah. it's
So
just-
what are you thinking of doing? Could it, I guess, my question, could it be bricks?
That would be more
It would be
expensive.
much more,
Yeah.
and they pop they pop more than the pads do. So this is currently a project, as you saw in your last meeting approving. It's a ongoing or multi-year project of updating sidewalks in town. This counts as part of the sidewalks, and so it would be part of the current project that we're doing. So the main question is, do we want to request an RFI for a change order for D'Angelo's Diamond to do the work during the construction project? Or wait till after the building's turned back over to us, we could then shop our own contractors. However, this is a full demo of this. And it would probably then close it and then cost them.
What's the actual, so the root, the literal root cause, this was the tree,
Sycamore trees, 3.
sycamore trees. So is there a plan for those also as part of this with, in terms of either grinding the roots or just so this doesn't happen? So is this just the sidewalk or is there a larger plan involved for that?
Any of the sidewalk work that we're doing in all of these projects, that involve removing full panels and pouring new panels, and is including roof grinding under those panels, which
But not contain.
My thought is like, if we wanted to maybe do like a something special with the bricks
Sure,
instead of,
we should get a price for this.
okay. Could we get, well,
Two prices. you said, okay.
Pavers would be a capital expense.
Yeah, see, pavers would be a reserve. We would have to pay for this new construction.
but if we got it funded,
You're talking about,
maybe possibly doing like a project similar to the dog park, with
yeah,
the bricks.
paid for bricks.
Yeah. I don't know, I feel like if it has to, like, I was thinking that anyways, like, though we have the dog park do at Lakeside. But like, if this has to be redone anyways, like, maybe this would be a good spot to do a project like that with bricks. Because it has to be done anyways, but I think there'd have to be obviously a lot of thought going into it. So then my thought would be maybe wait till after town hall, if it doesn't.
Our concern with waiting is the demo would likely damage the new landscaping that's put in.
And I mean, we could, I get what you're saying, and I agree to celebrate, to do that, whatever, but it's such a high traffic area that if we have this happen again, if they start sinking because of sand or roots or anything, it's too much of a trip hazard in this area. There could be a side of it, a piece of it where we do that. So I mean, we can ask them to price out an area of bricks.
Yeah, at some point, maybe we could take a panel out.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Just take one big panel out and try it and
It's
see. how
not the main.
Right, that's not the main route.
Like
That's all.
that.
Around where the benches.
But I think you're right. I think we've got to fix it because
Yeah.
if, I mean, the building is, this is the perfect time to do it.
Yes.
So is there anything to, so I keep going back to the tree. I.
it's four sycamores,
Four
or mature.
So are there alternatives to the roof grinding or anything else? Because I know sometimes that can introduce other things potentially to the trees in terms of disease or other things. So I don't
We'd have to speak to an arborist, I mean.
want to complicate it, but I'm just
Grinding
trying to
is
think.
not advisable. for
That's where I
any
get
tree,
concerned about.
But outside of grinding roots.
It would be,
We have to take
a tree
removing the
replacement,
tree.
and then we would install root barriers that prevent this in the future, which is a possibility if you did a tree replacement.
I just think we need to think about the trees too as part of this. It's in some way, shape or form.
Well, no, bear in mind, it's taken a long time to break these.
And as
And they're gonna break, something's gonna break them again. I hate the idea of removing mature trees
grinding the.
because in the summer,
barriers-
they're nice.
I don't like branding. I think that's.
Yeah.
open.
These ones have already.
Sir. Gary,
I remember about 5 years ago, there used to be 3 extra trees back there. We had them removed on purpose. So we would have more canopy, sunlight on that little patio area. But the board decided to keep at least half the trees because it is a shaded area for town events. We used to have all the little town events and the, what do you call it, the food truck Fridays back there. So I don't know if you want to get rid of all of them. We already got rid of 3 5 years ago.
I just know, all right. Yes, we gotta get.
The current landscaping plan replaces all of the landscaping on site except for just all the trees.
can we get a D'Angelo Steinman bid and maybe somebody else? Just,
So D'Angelo Simon bids it out to all their subcontractors.
Oh, they bid it out to all
Their
the
best rate is what they provide us with their contractual fees as well.
all right, what do you guys think? Yeah, all right. Anything else you guys want to add?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second. We're adjourned. Thank you all so much. Oh, not again. I assume I have to sign that D'Angelo Steinman thing.